make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Hello, and welcome to Let's Sip and Talk with Freema. So tonight, and I do apologize for being late, we're going to say fashionably late. We do apologize, but things happen. And remember what I always say, we cannot get upset over things we have no control over. We just got to make things happen. So, hey, here I am. Anywho, remember, we're doing the Easter basket giveaway. Let's Sip and Talk with Freema and Friends. All donations can be cashed out to Let's Sip and Talk, or you can mail tangible donations, or I'm willing to meet you if you are in surrounding areas in Orangeburg, South Carolina. We have to do this for the community, for our children, because when COVID came last year, I do not remember us celebrate Easter. At least I don't anyway. Anywho, we have on a special guest tonight, some of our very own Mr. Chris Carter. He is the athletic director, of Edisto High School. And we have a clip on him. We're going to watch it so we can see a little bit about what Chris is about. So let's see.
A lot of room to work from. So from the 32-yard line, Tyrone Stevens right up the middle, 24-yard line. Finally knocked off there. So Robinson up the middle, first man. Tyrone Stevens again gets a couple. Major shabby for a senior. I would take 9 of 14, over 150 yards from a freshman anytime in the first half. Chris Wright trying to get the corner, won't do it. Down at the 46-yard line, Chris Carter, the weak side linebacker, who's been very active. The senior from Orangeburg, South Carolina, 46-yard line. Chris Carter, the weak side linebacker, who's been very active. The senior from Orangeburg, South Carolina. Great pursuit by him. He showed good speed there to run down Chris Wright.
Chris Carter's having a great day, just expanding the field, spreading things out, and keeping this option going wide. Things are changing.
And he knew he was going to get nailed, too, as Alan Jackson was beating down. Robinson cuts it up to the 5. How was there not a flag on that one? I thought everybody went from the 5 on second and goal. Robinson rolls the pocket, cuts it up. Maybe a gain of 1. Again, that man, 45, Chris Carter. There to lead option. Shafton Fraley. 45, tripped up to the 46-yard line, so Georgia Southern will do something they haven't done a whole lot tonight. They will punt. And again, Chris Carter gives that young man a game ball tonight. 45, 6'2", 230-pound senior has played an outstanding ball game.
Chris Carter, great strip. You got to love it when these big hoggies make tackles like that, though.
Pitch it back. Here's Wortham again. Wortham cuts it up, has the first down, knocked out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Tough, hard-nosed running. You got to like this guy because when he gets the ball on the corners, he'll cut it up and get some yardage.
Yeah, he is the fastest man on the Georgia Southern team, and when he turns the corner, he's really got some speed. He's doing some great blocking, and this is just a fundamental flex-bone offense that Georgia Southern has run. And that tells you a little bit about what Buddy Green told him at halftime, and that's never, never, never quit.
Eric Smith to punt for the second time tonight. 10. That man has been a bright spot in what has been it's moved more on this drive than it has in the entire second half.
And Kenyon Earl is standing back off the sideline, so it doesn't look like he's fixing to go in anytime soon.
Terrell Owens on the middle screen. Owens at the foot race. Terrell Owens. Touchdown UTC. How about that? A 50.
Football. Watch how he catches the ball with his hands.
Wow. I must say you are very fast. Or look, can I say word still is? So, Mr. Chris Carter, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, kind of, everybody know I'm from Orangeburg. I played ball at Tennessee Chattanooga. I had an opportunity while I was in Chattanooga to coach the first professional indoor football team there called Tennessee RiverSharks. After that, I went on to Garinger High School where I took on a team that had like an 0-60 record. In the second year, we broke the longest losing streak in the state of North Carolina, won the region championship. Then moved on to Lake Marion. There, 21 guys went to league. It's another team,
Wow.
2-59. Went to the lower state championship. Sent 22 players total college, and that's a 3 to 7 year span. Then went over and took another school that was 0-22, and had an opportunity to break that losing streak over there. Kind of dig the program out, and then I turned it over to a younger guy, let him come in and kind of take it from there. But
Wow.
coaching and got a organization called Grind University that's been around since 2013. And basically what we do, we take kids in lower economic areas. We take them to colleges across the country. So we take them as far as to Miami, all the way across to Michigan. We even went out almost to Houston once. So and we just take them over and show them different things. So they get opportunity to visit camps that they normally wouldn't. And it helps parents out and helps them get scholarships and things like that.
Well, that's amazing. Kudos to you. We appreciate that. I know a lot of parents feel like, thank God for, what we say, Coach Carter or Mr. Carter, because that's awesome. We need that in our community. I do want to touch on one thing you mentioned when you took over schools, with the coaching, the ones that were kind of on a losing streak. Like, did those schools reach out to you because of your reputation?
Well, the first school, when I went to Garinger, there was a job that stayed open for like 6 months. And when I say it stayed open for 6 months, I actually initially, after the RiverSharks job, I went and applied at, this various schools and things like that, because after the last part of the season, they actually folded the team. So I went down to, winded up coming off I went on a 40-day fast, believe it or not. I went on a 40-day fast and winded.
Now, when you say a 40-day fast from what? Football, coaching, or eating?
Yeah, I went on a 40-day fast. Never been able to do it again, but I did it once. But it was just a time just to get clarity and just understanding of where my life needed to go. And so I kind of went on a 40-day sabbatical and just kind of stopped eating. It initially was 21 days. Jesus. Then it went to like 30 days. Then it went to like 38. But right around about the 38th day, I didn't make it all the way to 40 without eating, because right around about the 35th day, I started having heart palpitations, all kind of stuff. So I had to start drinking some stuff too. After that, I wound up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to a job that was at South Meck, pretty prestigious school. They were in good shape. And while I was down there applying, a friend of mine that I went to school with, she was at a school called Garinger High School. And I went over, just kind of talked to her and let her know, hey, I might be moving to Charlotte, leaving Tennessee. So she told me, she said, hey, our football coach job is open. And so I was like, I said, what, the assistant? She was like, no, the head coaching job. And so I'm like, you got to come over here and just talk to him and just see what happens. I go over and I just talk to him, just kind of get an idea. And they set up an interview with me. And I came back and I told Coach, the guy I was initially applying for, and he told me, he said, man, that's the worst job in Charlotte. He said, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. He said, at 0-60, they fired every coach that ever come over there. you could really mess yourself up career-wise. You know, that's not a smart decision. So initially, I was really listening to him a lot. But during that time, let me rewind it back a little bit. Initially, after the RiverSharks kind of started closing down, they were, and I was pretty young then now. I was probably one of the youngest coaches that was out during that time. I think I had just hit 30, and I was coaching grown men. And so I hadn't really been outside of college and really came in contact with a lot of people and things like that. I was coaching in high school. But I met a guy named Eric Holden, and he was buying the team. And at that time, they were looking for an owner, but he's probably about like 42. And when he got the car, he said, Mr. Carter, may I talk to you? Everything he kept calling me was Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter. And at that time, I was like, yes, you can, because he was thinking about buying the team because the team was kind of like in financial trouble. So he said, I want to take you out to eat, Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, I want to take you out to eat. So guy, they put us in the back seat because he came up there in a Bentley. And so got me in the back seat. So I was already kind of shocked, just a man, guy just turned 30 at that time. And I was like, man, this is pretty big. So but when we got to the restaurant, he took me out to the restaurant. He said, Mr. Carter, he said, when you looked at me, and this is very way. He said, when you looked at me, what did you see? And I was telling him, I didn't know what to say. I was like, well, I saw, a black guy got the car. He said, well, you see my shirt? My shirt is pressed neat. See that? It's there's no wrinkles here. He said, my haircut is lined. You see that? He said, my press of pants, my pants are pressed.
Right.
Yeah. He said, everything you see is in place. He said, when I'm on when I go on business trips, I present myself in a certain way. But I actually looked at myself at the time. I think I had like a little wrinkled golf shirt on. I had some little brown wrinkled khakis, and I was just looking. And but when he got, I noticed that when he got the car, I said, man, this guy, he looks like money. Like he just looks like money. So now let's fast forward it. I'm in Charlotte, and they set a time for me to come in for an interview, and then and everything he told me hit me it just reminded. So at that time everything was closed. So I remember I went to Walmart. They had like some white shirts in there. I got a white shirt and a pair of, I remember beige pleated like khakis or something. I bought some khakis, and all that stuff. But when I got in the interview, there were 6 people in there. And I noticed that as I was talking to him, like one of the ladies kept looking at my hands, but I had already cut my fingernails and stuff. Because he was telling me stuff. Then I noticed the guy to my left kept looking at my shirt.
Wow.
And I was sitting there like, is he looking at my shirt? You can tell you look. And then I looked at the main principal, and when I looked kind of like made eye contact with her, I noticed she was kind of examining me as I was talking from head to toe. Like she even kind of leaned over and looked at my shoes. And I was like, I'm like, wow. So initially I left out of there, but before I left, she told me, she said, I want to give you this job. I think you'd be great. I'll give you $10,000 bonus if you come on. And so now I'm like, whew, that's a lot of money. At that time, that's a lot of money.
Right.
So, but it was a lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil there. So I went back to the school I was in, which was South Meck, went and talked to the coach, and I told him, I said, they offered me that Garinger job. He said, you don't want to do that. He said, I'm telling you right now, that is the worst decision you could ever make. He said, they don't win, they don't have any kids, there's no support there, there's nothing. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. But the whole time, when I was driving back to Tennessee, I kept hearing like a little voice saying, go, just take the job, go.
Right.
So at that time, I'm still kind of debating because it's like I went to the parent meeting just kind of hear what was going on, and the parents are all in an uproar. It was just a lot of chaos, and I was like, man, if I take this job, this could really mess me up because now I'm listening to the chat outside. But as I was driving back on the interstate, I kept hearing that, that voice kind of say, take the job, like take the job, take the job. So when I got back, kind of thought about it. And then I went on and, I told him, I'm going to take the job. And the guy told me at South May, I remember him telling me these very words. He said, you're making a big, big mistake. He said, you will never get an opportunity to apply at this place again. Like she off, like he was talking about the school and the principal. He said, your job here is a good start for any young coach. He said, but if you take that job and then you try to they'll never hire you here. I promise you. They'll never even give you another chance. So I kind of just said, you know what? I'm just roll the dice, Right. I'm a gambler, so I roll the dice. And then I remember interviewing doing an interview with the Charlotte Observer, and the guy was like looking at my resume, saying, oh, you've been in this school, you've been in that school, and you coached here. He said, but why would you come here? And I'm like, I don't know. I said, I just think I can make a change here. And he said, I tell you what, if you make a change here, I guarantee you I'll put it in the paper. I said, I tell you what, if a change come, promise me you'll put it in the front of the Charlotte Observer on the front page. Like he said, you got a deal. So, and after the interview, I told him, I said, well, nothing can last forever. That's what I said. So, I go into that job, and in the first year, which was probably one of the crazy, because this is my first high school head job that I ever had, and I took on one of the worst schools in Charlotte, like Owens 60. It was in a rough part of town. Like it was. Like I'd take kids home sometime and they'd be telling me like, yo, coach, you need to back up. And I'm like, what? Back up? What you mean? And there'd be guys running through with guns. I mean, it was really
God.
Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. But I took the job, and the first year we didn't win any games. We didn't win no games. Like the first game got beat 63-0. And I remember it was a point where I was even kind of like, complaining to God. Like, I was like, man, you told me to come here. We didn't win no games. We got blowed out. And then there was a situation right in mid-season where, like, because I had already been complaining, like, in my prayer time, I was like, God, we don't, our field is messed up. We don't have any equipment. It's just really bad here. This is like lean on me, And so the next day they got a video on YouTube that you actually can see. It's called Garinger Goose Poop. The next day, over 100 geese was on our football field.
Wow!
And they had defecated all over the field. So, but the day before that, I had already been complaining. Like, man, this is like unreal. This doesn't make any sense. So when the geese came. Of course, we couldn't play on the field. They had to condemn the field at that time. Right. And CMS had to come out and redo the whole field. Wow. So, what I was complaining about, and at that time when the geese came, I was like, man, God, now you done made me a laughing stock of CMS. But what he did was he actually got our whole field redone.
Exactly. You got that whole field redone.
Yeah. And then they didn't have any money. So we didn't have uniforms, we didn't have anything. And so I was like, okay, we ain't got no boost club, we ain't got this. But then there was a guy in Charlotte that I didn't even know. And so this guy, he comes up to me, he says, Coach, you seem to be a good guy, I want to help you. So I'm like, okay, not thinking anything about it. So he came out, he said, let me play a game and tell me what you need. So I said, well, I just threw out some stuff. I was like, well, we could use a tractor. We could use some water hoses. We can use some seed for the field.
Yeah.
He said, okay. The next day, a big truck comes up. They got seed, water hose, tractors.
Wow.
All that stuff comes rolling out. So, at the time I'm sitting there and I'm like, everything I needed that the guy told me was one of the worst jobs that I took, it was like, all the supplies I needed was coming. Whatever I didn't have, it was coming. And so, even though we didn't win any games the first year, so after all that, I'm still complaining. God, use it, man. I'm praying you. I'm trusting you. You still got me.
Right.
So the principal comes around the corner and she tells me, Coach, you know what? You just won 2 games. I'm like, but I didn't do nothing. She said, yeah, but 2 teams played and ineligible players, so y'all won 2 games. So and then she told me that, and I'm walking to the class. I'm laughing. I said, okay, guys, I understand this. This is not my will. This is your will. So it's not about me. So we won those games, and then the next year, it was like the guy told me, he said, you know what, Coach? He said, none of your stuff gonna look like this next year. I'm like, what you mean? He said, man, we're gonna get new uniforms. We're getting everything.
Wow.
And so the thing about it is when I took it, you know, it didn't look like what it was becoming. It just looked like a bunch of mess.
Right.
And the next year, I found a kid in the school that was like, because I told myself, God, I need players. There was a kid in the school that was like 19 or getting ready to turn 19, never played. He was like 6'5". Then some kids started moving in over there. And this guy was like, this started coming. So the long story short, we go into the season, and you know, we didn't win the first 2 games, and then after that we just something snapped, and we went on like a streak, and they got it on the paper with all this is on YouTube, you know, like channels. But when we broke the losing streak, like the news and everybody was out there, like the city of Charlotte started cheering for us at every game. Like they would be at a Independence with Tommy Knox game, and they'd be asking everybody like, "What's the Garinger score? What's the Garinger score?" And they were like, and people were telling me, they were like, "Garinger's winning, Garinger's winning." You know, when we won our first game, and the first game we won at 31-12, and it and it was in all the papers, it was all the news and stuff like that. But it was amazing because not only did they win that first game, but they went on and won the 4A region championship.
Wow.
And the craziest thing, it was so many games where it was like 3 seconds to go, and we would come out and win. Like it was almost like the forces were saying, this is going to happen. And it was like a storybook type ending. And so then, you know, I started really liking it there. I started enjoying I was like, this is good. But you know, when God tells you it's time for you to go, a lot of times people don't want to leave because they get comfortable. They like what's going on.
Absolutely.
So a little turmoil started kind of brewing around the school. You know, I could feel it. And it was because some of the stuff that by winning, I started seeing things having to change because of that. And so at that time I said, well, the schools were divided in five parts. And Garinger, because they were under like state, they'll be evaluated by the state because of test scores. So the school I was at, what they did to get around it, they made 4 other schools besides one. And my school was closing down. And so I get a call after I was just nominated Region Coach of the Year, Charlotte Coach of the Year, and they were like, yo, they're not bringing you back. I was like, what? I was like, they said, wow. The school's closed, they're not bringing you back. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I just want to read, you know? So they said, they're not bringing you back. So at that time, I'm kind of like, you know, and that's what kind of sparked the fast, you know, because I was like, God, I can't believe this. You know, I just won the region championship and I'm getting fired.
And you getting fired.
So I'm getting fired. So at that time, I started applying for different jobs, but because I had won those games, like I was getting interviews. People interviewing me for a basketball coach. I was like, I never coached basketball. And they were like, yeah, we want you to coach the basketball team. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. You know, it was just crazy. So I remember when I applied at Lake Marion, when I applied at that time, you know, I went down and I interviewed, and something told me, like the same voice I heard last time. It was like, this is why I want you to come. And it's a small voice, and you know, you can say intuition, that gut feeling. Right. And but I didn't want to come. and notice every job I really didn't want to go in the beginning. And so I was like, but I heard someone say, just go, So when I got back, I told them, I said, I got another job. And they were like, oh, wait a minute.
Now, this is the same school that you told you had another job that was telling you that it was over?
They were telling me I was
yeah.
fired. But what happened was one of the principals there, actually, and I got this from the principal that was at my school. She said, well, let's make them sweat a little bit before we tell them we're going to move them to a different school. And I was like, what sense does that make? So it
was meant for you to move forward.
Yeah. So they when I told them they said, no, we weren't going to let you go. We were just waiting to get things straight. That's what they told me. But then my principal at the school, which was oh man, that lady was like an angel on my shoulder. But she told me, she said, Carter, no. She said they knew they were going to bring you back, but he said let them. They want to see you. He wanted to see you sweat a little bit, and so I'm like, but that's my livelihood. I had no idea. So
yeah, you can't play with something like that.
Yeah, because I didn't know. And so when I told him I got another job, he told me to be quiet. Don't tell the kids. Don't say nothing. Just I was like, you playing games. I'm not gonna be quiet. So I called the newspaper, and I knew they were gonna put it in the story. As soon as I said, hey, please don't print this, but I think I'm gonna be taking the job in South Carolina.
Wow.
Like, oh, okay, we won't. Next day in the paper,
it was in there.
Bold headlines. But even at that time, though, right before I actually accepted the job, I didn't. When I went to the interview, I felt like I was gonna get the job. Mm-hmm. So I said it again. I said, guys, things kind of looking up back in Charlotte.
Right.
And I really don't want to go. And he said, well, I tell you what, this is all I heard in my head. If you stay, I'm not obligated to protect you. That's all I heard. And so I started understanding that if you're not in the right place where God wants you to be, He's not obligated to protect you. So whatever happens to you, it just happens. And a lot of people get mad because they want to go where they want to go.
Right.
They to be there. And so I heard that, and it kind of stuck with me a little bit. I was like, "Ooh, man." So I drove back. And I wrestled with it for a little while, and then I decided to go ahead and take it. So I came here. I took the job, and this is my very. I said, listen. I said, Lord, now I got to win here and win fast. It ain't gonna be nothing like that. So we did. We went to the playoffs the first year.
Wow.
Went to the playoffs the first year, and got a little cocky. Team started rolling, and so the third year, I think God said, well, it's time for me to spank you a little bit and get some of that cockiness out of you. So we went like 2-8, and then during that season, I was like, oh my God, this is horrible, But the methods and the way we were coaching and stuff, it just it went totally against how I coached. And so I remember laying in the bed that night, and I just heard something say, what I want you to do is take the boys in the middle of the field. I want you to apologize to them for the way you coached them. So I sat there for a little while, and I said, you know what? I said, woo, that's gonna be kind of hard right there. That's all I need you to do. So now this game is actually on YouTube. This is another game. This is crazy. So I did it. I took the kids in the middle of the field and I apologized to them. We're playing the game. And Mr. Williams had already told me, and even the principal told me, he said, man, you need to win this game tonight now. You don't win this one, we might have to make some switches.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sitting there kind of like, man, I got to win this one. So we're down 7 points with like 2 minutes to go in the game.
Mm.
And we score one touchdown. And then they called it back. Time's running down again. So now we're down. I think we scored a first down. It got down to like a minute and like 12 seconds left. We throw the ball up again and score another touchdown.
Oh, wow.
They call it back. So I'm like, oh my God, man. So we go in the huddle again. Now it's down to like maybe 1 minute or 56 seconds. And we're back like on our 35, 40-yard line. And I'm like, okay, we got this, what are we gonna call? Call another play. We score another touchdown. They call it back. It's all, if you Google YouTube, you Google Lake Marion's greatest comeback. So we scored another one. So they bring the ball back. I think it's down to like maybe 30 some seconds. The time was ticking. Like it was like, I was like, yo, we got to do something. So then the next player, a little ninth grader, came to me like when we called one of our last timeouts. And he said, Coach, if you throw me the ball, I promise you I'll catch it. I promise you. Well, in the JV game before that, the boy dropped 5 passes. And so I'm like, man. And they were like, Coach, he's wide open. Just throw it to him. We ain't got nothing else to lose. But in my head, I'm like, we got to win this game.
Right.
So I said, all right, man. I said, fingers crossed. I said, just throw it to him. Throw it to him. The boy catches that diving catch in the end zone. Touchdown. They call it back again.
But why?
It was still not a kill kept lining up in a funny kind of way, like in the neutral zone, but they call back 5 touchdowns. We scored 5 touchdowns back to back. So now it's like 8 seconds, 12 seconds, something like that on the clock. So I said, man, just throw it up the mic. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We throw it up to him. He catches it in the end zone, touchdown. We win the game.
Oh.
So everybody's going crazy on the sideline. And all I heard was, as long as you keep me on the ship, it'll never sink. And so right at that moment, I'm like, okay, now I understand. I know what this is all about. So, then, we started playing and after that, it just started picking up. Like kids, I mean, it was like Dabo Sweeney was coming to school. Nick Saban, I mean, it was like kid after kid after kid. It just started really ramping up and going. And so at that time, it's like we went on a major run. I remember, when we got to the game right before the Lower State Championship, there were some games I was just like, golly, the guys got so good to, I would be standing on the sideline watching them, and I'd be like, do you see these guys? I'm like, they're amazing me. Like, my mouth is wide open. Like, I can't believe how they're playing. Like, it was amazing watching them. And so at that time, the athletic director at the school had left, and it was an opportunity. And then at the superintendent at the time at Edisto, which was Mr. Newman, called, and he said, Edisto would like to get your services. And I was like, ugh, I don't know. I had heard some, different things, and I was just like, and I asked him, I said, well, are they going to be okay with a black guy? Because I said, I just heard, various stories.
Right.
And I said, he said, yeah. He said, I think so. He said, well, it's pretty bad. I said, well, how bad is it? He said, well, we're 0-22. Another kids come in. He said, it's real bad, and I was like, I said, all right. So I kind of pander with the thought a little bit, just trying to say. I said, well, what do you want me to do when I come there? He said, we just want you to win one game. We just want you to win one game, get the kids out there, where they can at least compete. He said, that's all. Just compete. But the thing, I had been through so much before that I told him, I said, oh, we're gonna win one game. I can do that. And at that time, there was a lot of it seemed like every place I've been in where the programs have really, really been bad, there's always been a lot of clatter and a lot of noise around it. And it's a lot of stuff that you got to kind of fight through to get to the kids to help them and push them. And that's one of the things I started looking at it. So when we were able to kind of get through, I remember the last game, when we played Eau Claire. And I asked the coaches, I said, let's put the best kids on the field. I said, just the best. I don't care who it is. Just give me the best kids we got. And, at that time, I think we had, the team was somewhat mixed. It wasn't heavily mixed, but it was somewhat mixed. But I know we had a total of, I think it was seven black kids that actually was on the offensive side of the ball. And somebody told me and said, this is going to be a first right here, brother. And they said, you sure you want to do this? I said, I'm sitting on me. It's just a football game. They said, no, you don't understand this, man. I said, well, let's just play the best kids. That's what it's always been about me. It's not about color. It's not been about that, but it's just, let's just put the best kids out here and let's see what we can do. So we put the kids out there, and they played, and we wound up winning the game, but it was still like one play left. So they dumped water on me, and they're like, "Oh, we got one more play left," and I'm like, "Y'all dumped water on me," and they threw like a flea flicker Hail Mary kind of pass, and the boy flipped it, and he was down the sideline. I said, "Oh my God, I cannot believe this." But luckily, we had to tackle him at the last part, and we broke the losing streak. And then the next year, they improved, and then from there. But it's just my MO through the past is what I've seen is I've always stepped into very chaotic situations, very chaotic, and it now it's I call it battle wounds. Like it I could go into it now and be like, you know what. Whatever hits me, just hit me because I already seen this before. But it's
you already seen it.
Yeah, but it's just like just going in those situations in the beginning. It was a very tough task, should I say?
I can imagine. How does it make you feel to know that? And I guess because I'm not gonna say because I'm a female, because I know women know football and all this stuff. But how does it work with all the blame being on you? Like you have to win. Like you're not the players on the field. So how does that work?
It's tough because you're actually putting your life in the hands of 15, 16 year old kids. It is. But one of the things I've learned is that you really got to spend a lot of time in developing a young man, and you gotta develop a very thick layer of skin. You can't be somebody who needs the crowd to move with you. So you have to be more of a mover, and you have to be more of a person that can be alone. Because when it's going bad, it's like everybody. You may have, and even at those times, I always think God he always sends you one or two people that'll say something to you to kind of keep you going. Like coaches,
absolutely.
But the masses of the people that's coming against you, a lot of times you have to kind of, now I'm like, it doesn't matter. But then it was like, man, I feel like I want to go and, it was tough because, you got to get up after you get your butt kicked and you got to walk down the hall. Yeah. You got everybody saying, oh, they suck. He's terrible. He's this. He can't do this. He can't do that. They need to fire him. They need to move him. They need to get rid of him. You gotta deal with all that and then go in with a smile on your face. And then you gotta deal with the person that's right there beside you that's saying, you know what, if I had this job, I could do a lot better. So your leadership is a kind of position where you gotta be willing to be alone. You gotta be willing to take a lot of hits, and you gotta have a whole hell of a lot of faith. You gotta have faith more than you gotta be so optimistic that, okay, if I get up today, it's like gambling. It's like I'm gonna come out on the end. It's just gotta be a belief in you, even though you can't see it. Like I'm gonna make it through.
What is now? I know that you're the athletic director of Edisto High School. Exactly. What is that? And I'll be like, what? But exactly, I know you went from coaching. Like, do you still have your hands in actually coaching and things of that, or you actually Like, how does that work? What does the athletic director do?
Athletic director is more of a day-to-day operations. You mostly manage the operation, the eligibility, on a bigger scale. Then you get into like the financial, money aspects. I know when we first got there, there were some things that were in the red. You got to kind of clean things up. You got to evaluate coaches and various things like that. But it's more so you're just managing the daily activities of the whole athletic department. It's not so much of the pressure. It's when you're like coaching, but your job is you basically get the complaints now. Like instead of being the one they're complaining about, they bring
the complaints.
Yeah, you get the complaints now. Like, you need to fire that guy. You need to fire this person. You need to get rid of this person. What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? This needs to, that's
right.
So,
got you.
Those things.
Do you find yourself being a micromanager? And I don't know if that goes with, an athletic director, but what I mean when I say that is like, as far as how the coaches are coaching, do you find yourself wanting to say, hey, maybe you should try this or do this or, put the best players in? Do you find yourself doing that, putting yourself in that situation?
A lot of times I'm more so, I believe in giving people opportunity to lead. I always said this, you never cash your pearls unless people ask for them. So, I'm around. Not many people know my story. I know my background, know the coaching I've been through. So I, every now and then I get a few people that kind of ask me about, but I'm not the one to talk about different accolades or what I had. Like, if you ask me, about some of that stuff before, I would never mention it. And I've had friends of mine that's told me, you need to tell people, your background, your story, because you could, you've seen more than what you actually put on.
Right.
And one of the things I always said, I don't have to brag about it. I feel like when God wants my story revealed, he'll create a way. He'll let people know about my background. So I never been the one to have to come in and give you my title. Like I'm this, I'm that, because to me, that's just kind of, it's just like you're putting it on, and you want people to validate who you are when you show who you are.
Yeah.
So
I totally get it.
There's some other things that I've done that I would tell if God put me in that place to be able to say, hey, I want you to tell people this story now.
Right.
But other than that, I've always been, my famous saying was, my boys make the front page. My boys make I would tell all the kids, my boys make the front page. And what that says is that, people who join me, I'm going to put you in the spotlight. I'm going to really do my best to kind of push you up there and get your name out there and do what I can do to help you. And I think those are the things that people remember. It's not so much of people following me just to follow me, but people follow people that they get something from.
Absolutely.
And the thing about being a leader, when people say they want to be a leader, you got to be willing to be drained. Now, you got to know how to replenish yourself, but a lot of people cry for leadership, but they don't know leadership is draining and it's hard because you got so much that's demanded of you that you're going to sacrifice some things. You're going to sacrifice time. You're going to sacrifice certain things that you want to do. You're going to sacrifice that in the process. And when you get to the point where you feel like you can't sacrifice for the people you're leading, you need to step away.
Yeah.
You need to lead them. So, with that being said, I don't really micromanage people because I think sometimes when you micromanage people, that's just a form of insecurity, that you're trying to force your will to let them know I'm in charge. And I don't people know I'm the athletic director. I don't have to.
Right.
You know who I am, and so I don't do that.
Well, that's good. That was good. I just thought I asked, from the coaching background, was it hard to kind of separate yourself from it? But that's good to know. How long have you been with Edisto? Because I'm a Cougar, so Team Edisto.
I've been there. This is going my fourth year.
Okay.
I've learned a lot. I did the coaching there for 3 years, and I decided to go ahead and step away, and because I felt like that was the right time. I left. Every place I've gone, I always left it better than where I found it. And
That's good.
I knew that year the team I left was going to be pretty good. I know there were like 17 seniors coming back, and there were some really good players. So I knew if a coach was coming in, I always knew for me the hardest thing was getting the thing started. And being a new coach coming in, I always had to dig it out of the ditch and then get it going. And so I said, if I'm gonna leave something, I'm gonna leave it better than how I found it.
How you found it?
Yeah. And so those guys, they went on. Some of them was upset with me that I stepped down, but I just knew that it was my time to step away. And I think that's another thing about being a leader is knowing, when it's time. And everywhere I've been, I've always known when it was time to step away. A lot of coaches have been fired, and they talk about being fired, but God has blessed me where I've never been fired from a job where I had to just
because you left when you knew it was time.
I left when I knew it was time. Like I knew, okay, this is your reign, this is your time. It's time to move on, and I just knew that, and that was just my time.
What kind of toll, and I don't want to keep you too long, but what kind of toll did it take on you when this whole, and I know everybody's probably tired of hearing about it, but it's reality, this whole COVID-19. As an athletic director, what kind of toll did it take on you? When it hindered the players from playing it, the parents were upset, because I know I was an upset parent when basketballs, it was just how did you handle that? What advice did you give?
During that time, as far as with the kids, they shut it down so fast that we didn't get a chance to really talk to kids. It was just one day we were in, they're like, nobody's coming back to school, everybody stay home, we're going online, we're gonna do this online. So it was so rushed. So at that time, it was more so everybody was kind of bottom. I was living in Columbia, and I'm in the house by myself, and they're saying you can't go nowhere. Everything's shut down. So everything for me slowed down because I had been going go. And it's everything's just slowed down. And I had, and for me, that was kind of like a time when I felt like I just needed it. I needed to just stop. And it didn't I literally stayed in the house for that whole month. I didn't go anywhere. And I would get up in the morning and I would go for about a 2-mile walk. I would come back. I didn't even go to the grocery store. So I would I think I had a little bit of food in the refrigerator. I didn't buy much because I live by myself, so I don't need all that food. And everybody was like, you need to buy that. And I was like, I'm not buying all that stuff. But it was it didn't really, it really slowed things down for me. It was I had a chance to kind of, come back to Chris. It was car, go. But I had to actually got a chance to really come back to Chris and find out some things that I enjoy doing. I got a chance. I love the camera. My spare time, I like to take the camera. I'll go around I take pictures, videos. It's fun. That's fun for me. So I just started picking up things that I enjoy doing, and I kind of just have put aside. And so it was like God gave me an opportunity to kind of reevaluate and learn for a chance with Chris.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it was. I even made a few movies. I even made a few.
Really?
Movies. Yeah, I was in the house. It's you gotta find something.
Wow.
I even made a short film. And I played all 5 characters. Because I was.
I love it.
My buddies were laughing. They were like, "You got too much time on your hands." I said, "Man, that's all I got. I'm in the house all day by myself. I got to find something to do." So I did that, but I was blessed because I still had checks coming in. I I didn't have the experience, what some people had to go through
Right.
being laid off their job. Now, I felt for those people. I was really kind of, it didn't make any sense to me because I was kind of upset that the government wouldn't pay people that kind of money, knowing they were, out of work.
Yeah.
So those are the people I kind of felt for. And I would talk. I had a friend of mine that lived in Texas, and she was kind of going through some hard times. Her sister had cancer, so I found myself talking to them. She called me her COVID boyfriend. But it was just she just didn't have anybody to talk to. She was from Charleston, and she moved all the way to Texas, and then COVID struck, so she was in the house. So it was like everybody was kind of. I think people were so into the go red carpet events, parties, that, and then when COVID struck, you're in the house. Now you kind of thinking like it helped you back. Like what's really important to me.
Right.
Like, is this going? Like, some people found out that they wanted love versus this over here.
Exactly.
People started really, like God said, let's slow everything down. Let's just pause.
That's how I took it.
Yeah. So I think, and now things are starting to open up. People starting to get busy again, but they really need to remember that time because that was a time where the world stopped.
It stopped.
So when the world stopped, at that particular moment, what was important to you? And then when you really start evaluating that, I tell people don't forget it because the world gets shut down again.
We never know.
So put yourself in a better place. Learn who you are. Do the things you enjoy. Take life serious, but don't take it so serious.
Right.
Take chances. I've always been like a rule breaker, and I had to be a rule breaker because I would go into places that people would tell me not to go, like don't do this. And all my success has been banked on doing stuff that people told me not to do. So that's just how I am. You tell me, like if I look at something, I'm saying, what, my gut tells me, hey, go with this. Just go with it. And people say, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm like, I've always lived like this.
Right.
And
it worked for you, huh?
Yeah, I always been they call it a riverboat gambler. I mean, but and all it is to me is people learn how to listen to that inner voice. That inner voice, if you can hear it, it'll never guide you wrong. It's just I had to learn how to live and hear that voice in all aspects of my life and not just certain aspects of my life. So that's the thing that I had to learn to do and still learning. But I teach kids that now. Like a lot of that when they ask me, I say, you got to trust that inner voice. I had a couple of kids that were trying to make decisions on colleges because of the COVID. They all had an extra year. And, one of the guys was telling me, Coach, I got a couple of schools I could pick from. And they didn't know which one to pick. And, now, I was telling them, I said, you got to trust that inner voice. I said, I can tell you what's best, but what does your voice tell you? What does that inner voice tell you when you go? And some of them, they'll come at us and I'm going to stay or I'm going here. But it's just like, I'm still, the things I've been through, I've been able to use it to help people.
Right. And you know what's so funny though? I normally ask everyone that comes on, like, what would you tell the little Chris? What would you tell the young guys? And you just basically answer that question. Trust your inner voice. Like it'll never steer you wrong.
You talking about my younger self?
Well, like for the young guy, the high schoolers out here now that you encounter, like what would you share with them? And you basically, answer that without me even asking the question.
Trust that voice. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to take a chance. My generation came up on. They told us to get a job and get married, and that's all they knew. My parents. Their thing was, we got married. We had kids. We got a home, and and that's just what they did. That's all they knew. I think now I tell kids more so now find out what it is that you enjoy doing, and these kids more are the entrepreneur spirit. when we said entrepreneur back then, it was like, oh, you just ain't working. You ain't
Right.
got a job, so you're an entrepreneur. We understand it, but they really want to do that. So, I teach them more so it's not about just going ahead, just getting a job, but go after, like what's in your heart, what's your gift. Not don't tell me don't go after your passion. I need you to go after your gift.
Your gift.
A lot of people chase their passion, but there's nowhere in the Bible where it says chase your passion. It didn't say your passion will make room for you. It says your gift will make room for you and bring you before great men. So find out your gift, and if people can find out what their gift is, it may be baking a pie. If you bake pies and you bake the best pies, you need to be somewhere there baking pies.
Yeah.
If you can cook chicken, you need to be somewhere cooking chicken. The lady is I can't think her name, but she started out baking pies in a shop, and the guy's shop was about to shut down, and she started baking pies in the shop, and she just basically told him, she said, maybe I can generate some business if you let me bake pies. Well, she baked one, sold every slice.
Wow.
The place started packing up. Next day, she sold all those. She had to go back and bake 4 more. And then it started getting to the point where she put a commercial oven in her house and started selling pies. She got pies all over the country now. She's not a business, but her gift was baking pies.
Baking pies. Wow.
And Steve Harvey's hair, his hair cutter, the person who cut his hair, he paid $10 for that person to cut his hair. He said when he got his job, he moved up, he paid that guy like $1,500 a week for haircuts. He said, and then it kind of progressed. He said the guy was making anywhere from $10,000 a week cutting his hair, but that was his gift.
Wow, because that's his gift.
Yeah, he said. So people need to understand, like, what's your gift? I think that's the one thing that even adults wrestle with. That they just, if you had to ask an adult, what's your gift? They can tell you what their job is. They can tell you what their passion is. But if you ask them, I say, what's your gift? And they say, it's the thing you can do with the least amount of effort. Like you can just do it. Like there's no effort.
Is it fair? And I don't even want to say fair. Is it possible for my gift to be what I'm doing now? And it's talking, like, I don't even want to say entertaining, because that's not what I say I do, but I like talking, and I don't want to say advising people, but just listening and sharing knowledge, and just, I don't know, I just love doing this.
There's another way that people can find their gift. Your gift makes room for you. It brings you before great people. Like when you're doing your gift, it's like all of a sudden doors start opening that you had that you didn't do anything. It just flew.
It just happened.
Yeah, and it's your gift makes room for it, and it brings you before. So people can they can really understand when they're doing their gift, because it's just gonna put you before people. Your gift will, and it kind of goes along with what you read in the Bible. It says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. So if you find your gift, the gift that God has given you, then you're using it for him, then it's just going to bring people to you.
It's just going to come. Yeah.
You don't even have to fight. You don't have to fight for followers. You don't have to beg for followers. It's just your gift. And
this is my gift.
And learning your gift. And learning your gift, you got to get up in the morning and you got to learn you. So you got to spend time with you. So, but a lot of people don't spend time with you. So they spend time with everybody else, or they get an idea and they bounce it off people. And what people do is give you what they think you should do. Yeah. But if you spend time with you, then you can tell you what to do with that gift, because that's who he gave the gift to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got it.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So whatever you do to spend time with you, like, I mean, there are times I go to bed at night and I'll just be laying there and I'll just hear things. I just started this thing where I make vision boards and stuff. about
Okay.
things I want to do. And the first time I ever made a vision board was during COVID season. season. And on my vision board, I put well, I take that back. It was right before COVID hit. It was like in December. COVID hit around right after February.
Yeah.
I want to go to London. Now this is crazy. I want to go to London. There was an actress over there I wanted to meet because I was like, yo, I want to get into my movie. But now this is what I put on my board. I want to meet them. Mind, I remember this. I want to meet them. I put down like I wanted $20,000 to come to me. I was just, this is what I had. I wanted to get a special kind of computer, and I wanted a camera. Okay. In January, I went online to see if I can find a ticket to London, and it was like $300, $150 there, $150 back. So when I got online to purchase the ticket, the lady said, "That's not right." She said, "That ticket doesn't cost that." I said, "Well, man, that's what the ticket is right here."
Right.
And she said, "Well, hold on for a minute." And she got the supervisor, and he said, "Sir, this is your lucky day because we're gonna have to sell you this ticket for 300. I think it's 350,
Wow.
something like that. It was really cheap." So he said, "We're gonna have to sell it to you, but that's not what this ticket usually costs." So I said, "That's fine, but I'm buying it now." And so I bought the ticket. I got over to it. It was like an act called Three Sisters. Got to the place, went in there, saw the
Don't
act.
tell me the act. Don't tell me that person was there.
Yes, not only were they there, they were on stage performing.
Wow.
So I put on a Instagram note. I said, "Hi, I'm from the USA, South Carolina. Would love to meet you." That didn't happen. Sure enough, I get a reply, "Come to the backstage, be happy to." So
wow.
Yes. But what did I ask for on my vision board?
Yeah.
I asked to
Go
meet
to
them.
London.
Yeah, but
And
meet
you want
them.
to be specific. Wow.
So I met them. That was it. But I met them. But then I was like, yo, I need to talk to them and ask them about the movie. I need to talk. But and at that time I was so shocked. And this is where you gotta be prepared for your moments. You gotta be prepared. I was so shocked that they even said, "Hey, well, if you got a movie, let's sit down, let's talk." I was like, "Oh, I'll come back tomorrow and we'll talk."
Oh my
God. I'll come back tomorrow. I was like, "Oh my God." And then you know what happened? They had to fly out, they had to go somewhere else. And I was like, people, when God brings it to you, you gotta be prepared.
You gotta be ready. You asked for it, you gotta be ready.
Got to be ready. And so that was one. So then I made a movie for the Lupus Foundation. They'll be coming out this year called Mark of the Butterfly. And we made that movie. So here's the thing. There was a nurse that had some friends that, suffered from lupus. And she said, "Hey, I saw your trailer. I love it. It's it can really help a lot of people. Can you tell me more?" So I told her a little bit about it. And then she said, "Well, is there anything I can do to help?" I said, "Well, there's a computer I like." She said, "Well, do you have a picture of it?" I'm like, "Man, there's no in the world. No in the world. This lady's about to buy a computer." So I said, "Well, you know what? They asked."
Right.
So I showed them the computer. Now the computer is about $2,700. So they said, "Oh, okay. All right." She says, Is there an address this comes to?" I said, "Sure. Yeah. Let me write it down for you. Sure, go ahead. Here you go." I give it a favor. Here you go. 2 weeks later, the computer's sitting on our front door.
Wow.
I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So it's like, so I started understanding that, you gotta make a vision for your life. And you gotta make a vision for your life in every aspect. Relationship, job, physical. You gotta start making that vision. If you don't write a vision, then you kind of you're floating.
You just flowing, yeah.
And that vision board allows you to see the things and it actually tells the universe. So there some of the things I'm very careful about what I say now, because even the negative things that you complain about that you say, I can't do. I always run into this. Because you're telling
Right.
me this is what I expect.
This is what this is what I'm used to. Bring it on.
Bring it on. And then it's like the change. So
wow.
It's been a learning process.
This was very, very enlightening. I enjoyed this conversation tonight. I really did. And I appreciate you sharing so much with us, because the reasoning for me doing this is to learn from one another, give each other that oomph, that one person may need, So I appreciate you sharing this with us. Now, from my understanding, you do have a podcast. Is that right?
Yeah. I got a podcast called Grind You Mentality. And it's basically it's a podcast designed for people, real life people with real stories. And it's people who have, they have achieved various things in their life, but they're telling you about their process and going through it. And a lot of times people, like I said, they share the good parts, but they don't actually tell you the process. And sometimes I think people disrespect people by looking at the finished product and saying, "Oh, I can do what they're doing.
I can do that," not knowing what they've been through to get there.
Yeah. So I said, if you want to do what that person is doing, are you willing to pay the price that person has to pay to be who they are? Right. Some people, their process of being who they were, they lost loved ones along the way. People walked away from them. I mean, I had one guy that was on there a week before. He talked about how he almost, he lost it over his girlfriend. Like he had to go in the we call it insane asylum.
Yeah.
And he thought about killing himself. And he was at that time, he was like the region coach of the year. And so, but he made it through. But it's like people have the stories that people have. I think people can get a lot of inspiration and power from them. Because it's the people they see, but like I said, a lot of times, when God kind of blesses you, but when He blesses you and puts you in a different arena, you never look like what you came from.
Absolutely.
So, you when you hear somebody that's making six figures now and they're driving a Mercedes and they tell you, "I was in the hood." Yeah, right. Yeah. Because they don't look like where they came from now.
Right.
He's changed their name. He's totally rearranged them now. So people can't identify with that. And nobody documents their life. They don't document the process of where they're going.
Right.
And social media is a great, like what y'all doing now. I would never erase one of these podcasts because you can look back on it 10 years from now and people can see your growth. And people don't share their growth. And that's the thing that I think people need to be more vulnerable. Like share your growth. Let people see it. And I leave some of my stuff up. It is like when I first started with my camera, it is horrible. Oh my God. When I say horrible, it is horrible.
But you see the growth. It makes you want to keep going. I just had an interview Wednesday, I believe it was. And they was like, because this was a returning guest, and he was like, just from last year, it probably wasn't even a whole year when he'd been on, a couple months, he was like, this has really grown. Like, so I was like,
And that's good. And being able to take that criticism is good. Matter of fact,
it feels good.
One of my frat brothers helped me grow so much in my video. I did a video for him. I thought it was just a bomb. I thought, oh man, I hooked it up. He looked at it, and you know what he said? He said, "Man, this is garbage." He said, "I want my money back." He said, "Man, this is garbage. This is pure garbage." And I mean, it struck me, but at the same time, I said, "You know what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna get better." So
get better.
I reevaluated everything I was doing, and I did some, like I call them spec ads. I do spec commercials. I did spec commercials, and not only did it get me a job, but I mean, I landed some jobs like $1,500, $2,500 jobs.
Yeah.
But I never would have known if he wouldn't have told me.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Garbage, man. And I mean, at that time, I didn't want to hear that. I was like, oh man, you know, I wanted to sock him in the face. Like, no, you won't be talking to me like that. But swallow your pride, take that butt cutting, and get better.
And get better. That's
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
you rather him, a frat brother, tell you than you try to pitch it to somebody that's way bigger, and it's like them ruin your whole, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta look at that. You gotta understand that. And a lot of people don't.
Here's one thing people gotta understand. People talk about their haters and they talk about their enemies.
Mm-hmm.
God uses those people to move you forward.
Move you forward.
So when you look at that, anytime you come against that, all that is God saying, I need you to change something. I need you to correct something. And so when people like that come, I don't understand why they get angry at those people. In the Bible, it talks about where they were talking about the enemies of God, I think it was the Israelites, somebody was the hand of God. Those are the things that move you. You never get better when you're feeling good. It's always pressure and something that just kicks your ass that makes you say, you know what? I got to pull this thing together.
Absolutely.
I got to get up and I got to get it done. It's always pressure.
It's always pressure because if everybody always complimented you, oh, you're doing great, you're not going to improve because, oh, I'm doing good. Everybody's telling me that. So you need that constructive criticism. We need those haters.
Yeah.
We need to know. We need to know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I appreciate you tonight. I really enjoyed it. I kind of feel like we have to do this again, just the conversation itself, life itself, just period. I enjoyed our conversation. Is there anything else you would like to share with us before I let you have your Sunday evening back?
Nah, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate y'all having me on. Check out the podcast. It's still a growing podcast. I'm still learning as I go. But
and how do they the podcast? What is the name of it? You said
it's called Grind You Mentality Podcast.
Grind You Mentality Podcast. Okay, okay.
I actually got another one coming out. It's more so dealing with relationships.
Okay.
And it's in the making, but it's I think it's something that is needed.
I agree.
I think we need to get the love back between our man and
absolutely.
Our woman. So
I would love to join you one day if you'd have me. I love it. I love stuff that.
We definitely get you on there.
But again, I appreciate you so much. If you'll just stay on once we disconnect from our viewers, I appreciate that. And everybody knows on Let's Sip and Talk with Freema, peace and love. Thanks for tuning in, guys.